What up, everyone? Before we jump into it, if you're looking to do your first ever reverse diet, we're running a test group. So you'd qualify for this if you've completed a diet and you want to learn how to eat more food, lose more fat, all while building more muscle using the advanced strategy of the reverse diet system. You'll work one-on-one with me or Coach Kyle to see you through this journey at a special opportunity. This is a paid program, but we guarantee your results so you can come in with the utmost confidence that we're going to take you to that next level in your journey. So to learn more about this and to apply for this special promo, all you got to do is message us on Instagram with the keyword reverse diet to @Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. We'll see you over there. But for now, into the episode. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And we have some killer questions. And if you heard me talking about the reverse diet opportunity we have at the start, we are looking for 4 people to run a special case study so we can get out some killer transformations to showcase how it's done for a phenomenal deal. And we've done this in the past, and the results have honestly just been stunning. And this is an active tool and advanced strategy we use for our clients. And if you're curious, what the heck is a reverse diet? How do I eat more food, lose more fat, gain more muscle? Stay tuned because we will be getting into that later in the episode. So that is something to look forward to. But as always, we like to kick this off with some killer quotes. And I'm going to go ahead and start with mine. Normally the quote's going to be pretty quick. Usually I'll hit Google, I'll search kind of what's on my mind, find something impactful. I kind of scoured for this one. I had to look quite a lot. I had to Google a bunch of different things, really find what worked. But when I found this particular quote, I'm like, okay, this is it. Nice and simple. So my quote is, today is your day to start fresh, to eat right, to train hard, to live healthy, to be proud. And I know there's someone listening to this podcast, and maybe you, who needed to hear this because perhaps things haven't gone how you wanted them to. Maybe you've been off your fitness grind a bit. Maybe you haven't been tuning into the podcast as much, but today can be that pivoting day. This can be the day where you actually go out, you start fresh, you get in some good food, you train hard, have a fantastic workout, you live healthy, you make that choice, you set those goals. Any day has the opportunity to be that day, and I say, why not now? And regardless of how the past time has been, I just want you to go out and make today great. Let that snowball into a great week, into a great month, and into a great life. And it sounds ridiculously simple, but I really do believe this. And anytime I feel like I'm not where I want to be, I always think, okay, it takes one day. And that's why Mondays in particular, if you're listening to this on Monday, it's probably my favorite day of the week because there's just something about a fresh start, a new opportunity, just everyone kind of locking in. And I like the weekends too. I just find it's hard to get a hold of people. Everyone's kind of taking it easy, chilling. Monday, people just seem ready to conquer. They seem ready to get out there, to get after it. And I want that to be this day for you. So once again, whatever it is, today is your day. Start fresh, eat right, train hard, live healthy, be proud. So that's my quote.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, Mondays are great. I shared in our email not too long ago, actually, just like how I love a fresh start, a fresh slate, and each day, each week, each month, or each year is just a new opportunity to just have a fresh beginning. No matter what's happened, the past is the past, the present is right now, and I love having that as a new opportunity. And it kind of reminds me of the quote is that we've shared before. You're always one workout away from being on track, whether it's one healthy meal, whether that's one workout, one walk, like that's all it takes to allow the momentum to snowball. So even if you had a bad weekend, or even if you've been out of the groove and you're just not feeling as fired up as usual, literally all it starts with is one thing. So I love that quote, and on to mine now. So mine was intense last week. I called some people out. I pushed some people mentally, wanted to challenge you there. This one is a bit more of a loving but very, very true one that I have had on the top of my head for years and I absolutely love. Too skinny, too fat, too muscular, too big, too small. You're always going to be too something to someone. Just be yourself. So what I really like about this is it just really says to me, like, focus on what matters for you and what you really want to do, especially because in life, I feel like you'll always get different remarks from different people, and a lot of people want different things for you, right? But what really matters is what makes you happy and what is part of your just ambition and goal, and just it's your own body, it's your own life. And I think that's so important to just remember, because I hear so many different comments from people where they'll say a family member said something, or a coworker's trying to convince them to do whatever, like whether it's telling someone to build more muscle, whether it's telling someone to shred down. Like, it's good to take note of what people recommend. And I'm never against having some, friendly chats and friendly conversation, but at the same time, you'll never be perfect for what a lot of people say. So just a friendly reminder there. I hope that makes sense to you in some way or another. I definitely am inspired by that little quote, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I think if you're doing your journey for other people, if you're trying to be a certain way or to fit in someone's certain box, you're never going to be happy, because some people, you'll see them and they're going to say, wow, you're way too muscular. And some people say, oh, you're way too skinny. Like Kyle said, like, you're always going to be too much for someone. You really should just be yourself. And that idea of just being the best version of yourself, working towards what you truly want, is going to be way more fulfilling. The actual drive and thought behind it is going to be way more inspiring, because it's going to be truly what you want, what you care about. And that's something I've really thought of too, is not just defaulting to doing what's common or what other people like, and to really just kind of have your own wavelength, find your own thing. I think that is an awesome quote, and just absolutely incredible. And we got some really good thoughts this week too. So first and foremost, interviews are coming back. We have ripped off the Band-Aid. Me and Kyle, we got to call ourselves out too from time to time. We made too many excuses because we're like, oh, logistically it's so hard to do, and there's this and that, and one of us has the mics, and all these excuses, and they truthfully are excuses. And we're like, you know what, we're not doing that. When we were down in Florida, we were at the Gymshark Miami event. We met a YouTuber there, Max Tuning. He's one of the earlier YouTubers. We've been out with his brother before, with Nick Bear and all these other OG YouTubers. It's crazy how much the landscape has changed, because all the Gymshark athletes that were there, we hardly knew any of them. We're like, who the heck are these people? It's so crazy, like back from when we started. And a lot of the people that were massive when we were coming up were just walking around with not big crowds. So it's fun seeing like the cyclical process that is the rise of fame. And then usually they'll transition to different businesses and things like that. And these are some things we reflected on with Max, which was absolutely fantastic. It was a really fun episode. It's jam-packed, and that will be out on Thursday. So make sure to mark your calendars. Look forward to that. And we're really going to try to have a good variety of guests so we can get some really inspiring and amazing conversations. We've had some phenomenal guests in the past, and we do know that's something that's been lacking from this podcast. So as we've said, we have big things coming. We mean it. We're acting on it. We're getting those out, and I think that's going to be absolutely incredible. And then anything you want to add to that, or not so much? No, Kyle's nodding no. So my other thought, and this was a quote I heard today, and I'm like, oh, this is good too. It's, you lose weight at the grocery store. And I was like, man, that is good. And in the context of this quote, because you're like, what the heck does that mean? That makes no sense. But I'm really big, as we know, on setting yourself up for success. So having the right systems, the right thoughts, limiting things that you know are bad for you, and just not having them out of reach. So the grocery store in particular is where a lot of your diet will start. If you're at the grocery store and you're buying a ton of chips, you're buying a ton of ice cream, and you're like, oh, if my friends come over, I need to have 300 beers or something like that. The problem becomes at night when you're bored and you go cabinet hunting or fridge hunting. I'm sure everyone else does it, because I'll do it too. You'll look and you'll hope to find some gold. It's just real easy to sabotage the progress you've had, because in those weak moments, it's hard to be strong. Whereas if you eat good food, you don't go to the grocery store hungry, you shop the perimeter, you load up on good food, you pre-prep your snacks into manageable portions. I shared what I get from Costco for my hauls, and it's basically just a ton of bulk whole foods. It's helped me save money, it's helped me eat healthier, and it's helped me mitigate needing a ton of snack foods in the house. And I just love that point, because it's so easy to expect yourself to be strong in those moments. And as much as I'd love to be, and even as someone who works hard, I try to make it harder for myself to fail. And for me, if I have a ton of junk in the house, I'm making it easy for myself to fail. But truthfully, for me, it's not to say I'll never have ice cream, or I've mentioned before, the Reese's cups. If I want them, I'll have to walk and go get them. I'll have to drive and go get them. Often, if I'm just laying there having a chill night, I'll be like, oh, I want this Reese's cup or ice cream. And I'll be like, okay, I'm not driving to get that. I don't care. I don't want to sabotage my progress anyways. And I'm saving myself. Whereas if you've had a horrible day, you just got news you didn't want to get, you're at home, you're feeling sad, you're going to want to run out and just do something to give you that quick little bit of joy, even though it'll throw you off your path. So I just thought that was a really good point, that you lose weight at the grocery store. So make your hauls better and try and spend a little bit more money on healthy food. I know it does get expensive, but save the money by buying less of the garbage. Actually eat the healthy food you buy. prepackage it, do what you got to do. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, even myself, very easy to give into temptation, like being fully honest. And I spend a lot of time thinking about this actually, like when I am going to the grocery store and just thinking like, how am I going to set myself up for success? What are my triggers? What do I need here just on those nights where it's like I have some calories left, but I want to fill up on something good? Like I think a lot of times people just will maybe either just grab random stuff and just be like, okay, we need to get in and out. But I do believe that it is one of the biggest and most important things to set you up for success. Even I was just having a talk with one of my clients recently, and we kind of came to the conclusion just that the lack of grocery shopping and like thought within it was one of the things that was holding us back from having just the week that we wanted to have. And that's where I think so many people do struggle. And even just for myself recently, I did a big Costco haul as well, and similar to Josh, and I just knew that each time like I would have the temptation to go out to grab something, I'm like, well, I don't want to waste the food. I have so much good stuff at home. And it's like funny because there's some of these different psychology tricks that can like really help you stay on track as well mentally. And I thought that was really cool. And even recently I had Josh and a buddy over for UFC and hockey, and there was like that natural tendency to want to go grab something just because I'm hosting and whatnot. But I texted them saying we've got Quest chips, which I already had, and then Quest like the little M&M type things. They're like 10 grams of protein, and that was what we had, which was pretty funny. But I'm like, hey, I'm trying to be a good influence. I'm doing this diet myself, so it's like it's important to think of these things in my personal opinion. And then so one other thought on top of that I had was just like, I feel like a lot of times we have these things we want to improve upon. And I've said this before, but it's just a friendly reminder. You have to ask yourself, what is it that I'm going to do that's actually going to produce this change? So for example, someone has a really bad week with nutrition, they're eating out a ton, they didn't grocery shop. I find a lot of times people will say they're going to try to do something different, but then they don't really have that actual action plan. And while we're on the topic of grocery shopping, of nutrition, it's so easy to just have a really bad week and be like, I'm going to do better this week. Like I'm going to try, without actually putting together a full game plan and figuring out how you're actually going to get better. And then the next week comes and you're like, oh, I did it again. Didn't hit my nutrition. And I can use this for any examples, whether it's like skipping workouts, whether it's, even just sleep. I find a lot of times people say, oh, my sleep was bad. And, for me, I try to dig deeper and say, so why was it bad? Like, have you actually sat down, thought about it? What's the game plan? What are we going to do to change that? And the truth is, the easiest way to make that change is to think about how you're going to make it and just begin to make it. And I know it sounds obvious because, I'm sure it's just sounds simple, right? But a lot of people just overlook that. And I just want to share that. So if you have something you're struggling with, if you want to make that change, one of the biggest quotes they say is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I firmly believe it. So set a game plan, take action on it, and I guarantee you'll start to see better success in whatever you're striving for.
I think that's incredibly well said, and just the concept of reflecting and learning from your own journey and adjusting, that is one of the best ways to improve. And I think going back, if you find yourself snacking every night on the chips in your kitchen, right? Like I said, you got to stop that habit at the grocery store and give yourself that easier time to have that strength. Different things as well, like even I mentioned before, the nighttime routine. If you have a hard time getting out to the gym in the morning, like limit the burden to getting there. So lay out your clothes, have your gym clothes packed, know exactly what time you're going, who you're going with. Maybe you're meeting a buddy there. Like it's just going to make it way easier for you to actually see it through and commit. And once again, as much as we'd like to build just this incredible willpower, a lot of it comes down to just being smarter and using these better tips and tricks. And this is something we really help our clients with, is really overcoming the hurdles in their particular journey. And you might say, I keep chips in my house and I have no problem. I have great will control. And I think that's phenomenal. Like you have better willpower than me, but perhaps maybe you have a hard time going to the gym, or you have a hard time pushing yourself in the gym. Like we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and that's why it's really important we address, okay, what am I weak at? What am I strong at? How can I be even stronger at the things I'm strong at? And how can I build off those weaknesses? So that was a really great point from Kyle there. And now we're really excited to showcase a client who has been crushing it. Who do we got this week?
So this week we actually have Benjamin, who is 20 pounds down. Everyone make sure head over to Instagram. We always post every Monday afternoon with the transformation, the tips. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube right now, as well as on Instagram. We also share the the testimonial, what they have to say about the program. We just say, hey, share a few words, talk to our audience, and that would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I just want to give a huge shout out. He's 20 pounds down. Even Armando had shared a couple different things. He came from a history of injuries while training, but also wanting to get stronger. So even Armando had mentioned one of the biggest focuses was just like form videos, which we'll actually be talking about, funny enough, after in one of the first questions about injuries with training, and just really making sure he was making those small increases in strength while just avoiding injuries, right? Because that's super, super important within the journey and often overlooked. He's coming up on a race in a few months. He's been building endurance. His physique is just phenomenally different, right? I don't know if phenomenally is a word, but it's just amazing to see the change, which once again, you can see on the screen or on Instagram on Monday afternoon, which we always share. And yeah, huge shout out to Benjamin. He came in here, he trusted the process, he shows up every single day, no matter what. And I'm just so proud, like taking a second here to shout out any of our clients who show up, who it's not an easy process to have to continuously do what you're doing day after day, but it will always be worth it. And I think so many people on the outside who's not in our program, they don't really realize just like how consistency just pays off. Having a program, having a coach, having someone guide you. And that's why I'm really excited about this test group that we have. And all you have to do is send us a message with the keyword reverse diet. We guarantee your results. We can't wait to help you. It's time to stop struggling. If you are not seeing the results, if you're not losing that weight, if each week, each month you're showing up saying this time it'll be different and you're not seeing that change, I guarantee you, let us take the guesswork, send us that message on Instagram, and we can't wait to talk to you, some of you awesome people.
Awesome. Now we're going to jump into our mailbag and answer your questions. So first and foremost, we have how to prevent injuries while lifting. And I actually added this question because the other day I was doing my deadlifts. I got a little lazy for one rep and I felt like a little pulled muscle in my back. I'm like, oh, here we go. And it's not the first time I've done that. I'm very happy to say, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, maybe of the 10 injuries I've ever had that are very, very small, have been from me not lifting, actually. They're usually like when you pick up something weird, you sleep an odd way on your neck, different things like that. That's often where injuries will happen because life happens. You're not always moving in the most optimal ways. And I find people are really paranoid about hurting themselves in the gym, but the gym is a very simulated form of training. You're able to work in very fixed motions. You're able to be hyper aware. There's not a lot of weird movement within the movement. Like you're generally just lifting in a certain plane. So it's actually a very safe and healthy way to work your muscles and to also improve your muscles' flexibility by working those muscles through a full range of motion, to build them, to build more strength. Having more muscle actually helps mitigate injury, helps mitigate just the effects of aging and muscle deterioration as you age. So there's just a lot of benefits here in general for just being in the gym. And I highly recommend people to not be scared of training because when it's done well, your chance of injury is so incredibly small. And like I said, I've never had any major injury from lifting, and I have now been lifting 13 years. A tweaked muscle here and there is definitely something you could expect in your wheelhouse. But like I said, it's something that can absolutely be mitigated. I just took my mind off of that set for one rep. Didn't brace my abs, lifted more from my back. My back just didn't like it. And most oftentimes what a pulled muscle is when you aggravate that muscle, it has its normal kind of length. It gets upset and it tightens up because it gets really scared. It gets really, really tight. And that feeling is what makes it feel pulled and uncomfortable. And it takes a little bit of time for that to gnaw out, to get some blood flow there and to help things heal. So if that ever happens, you know how to work against it. And even for me, because I've been lifting so long, you can kind of read between the lines. I still went to the gym today. I did some walking. Motion is lotion. I still did some just really isolated machine work. So I did lots of quads extensions, lots of calves, and I still got some movement in. And these are things you can know as you do get more experience. But injuries happen. And one thing I really do like to tell people is you're human. You break, you heal. It's part of the journey. Obviously, we do want to mitigate it as much as possible. And if you do end up strength training, you'll get injured a lot less than someone who doesn't strength train. It's absolutely amazing to see from building that resiliency, what my body is being able to withstand from some of the other stuff I do with sports and just general life and general shenanigans. I guess just being a man and who just likes to do random things. Like we'll go screw around a trampoline park and rock, like all these different things. And I feel really great knowing I'm building a fantastic form to be able to withstand these things. And even as I get older, to be able to play with my kids, to wrestle them, to do all these different things, it's really incredibly important to me. So going back to the core issue of how do you prevent injuries while lifting, especially in particular, what I definitely recommend first and foremost, as Kyle mentioned earlier, is knowing good form. If you can improve your form, you can engage the right muscles, you can make sure you're doing things in the correct way, you will eliminate bulk of your injuries. The next thing too is not doing anything exotic during the movements. Common mistake I see people making that also is just horrible in general is they'll look at themselves in the mirror while they're doing a row or something along those lines. And you're just torquing your neck while you're working your muscles in motion. You're going to be crisscrossing a lot of things and you're going to be more susceptible to injury. So put your head forward, have good posture, brace through your abs, have really good breathing, and be present. I find the second you're just not mentally present is when you're most vulnerable to be hurt because you're not focusing on what you're doing things incorrectly. I mentioned before, I knew someone who was incredibly jacked, really strong, healthy, that slipped a disc picking up a 5-pound plate because they picked it completely bent over, just mindless, and just something happened and pop. That's what happened. So, and these examples seem exotic and scary, but between myself, everyone I've trained with, all the people I've trained, I've never seen anything remotely close to this. So don't be too scared from these things. And I think you should be more scared if you're not lifting and you're not lifting heavy, because you're actually going to be worse for wear down the line. And especially with all the longevity studies that have been done, you're way better off learning to get strong, learning to do things correctly, and you will mitigate injury, especially when you learn that you're doing it right. And the best way to do that, refer to our form guide. We have a free form guide that you can absolutely take advantage of. That'll be the first link below the incredible opportunity we have here with the case study for the reverse diet. So you could take advantage of getting that. Just click that link and we'll send that to you totally free. It's like a personal trainer in your pocket where it shows you the before and after of good form. The next thing I would recommend to improving your form is to actually film yourself. So looking at yourself, you can fix 99% of issues, because you'd be like, okay, I'm not going low enough. I look awkward when I'm doing this. Why do I keep moving my head and twitching my eyeball or something weird? Like, you'll be surprised. In your mind, you feel like you're doing it perfect. You'll look and you can start to self-correct. And then the step past that is having a professional look at it. So for all of our coaching clients, we allow unlimited form checks. They can send a video whenever they want, so we can help our clients do that as optimal as possible. You could ask a friend who's in the industry. You could ask a trainer. It's just really important you ask the right one, because it continues to baffle me how many experts there are who just think they know what they're doing. And one of our pet peeves is it's just so common in general for people to, the barrier to entry to being a personal trainer is like a 2-day exam, if even, maybe a 1-day exam. So people do this exam, they'll be like, I'm a trainer now, I know everything. And that's where you do want someone who has a lot of experience and a lot of practical experience as well, to make sure things are being done right and optimal. Because even recently I fixed one of my clients' bench because he was benching weirdly narrow for no reason with really healthy shoulders. I'm like, this is so inefficient to actually working your chest and developing your chest and actually producing more strength when you have no injury. Like, there's just no reason, just because this one trainer he spoke to probably had a shoulder issue, so he benched really narrow, he probably continued to teach everyone to bench narrow. And that's where, by doing things incorrectly, it can actually be more of an issue. But in general, if you learn to do these things right, you can mitigate bulk of injury, and you don't need to do anything too exotic. What I'd recommend past that is definitely going to the gym with the correct rest, recovery, and sleep, not going out of your means, warming up properly, doing these basic things. The gym is an incredibly safe place to be, probably one of the safest, and you're more likely to hurt yourself walking down the street, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and like I really like that Josh mentioned that, especially ending off where he did, because a lot of things I do in my life, I'm actually thinking of how grateful I am that I strength train and that I am genuinely like really strong in different areas. And that's not to brag, it's just like, even for a lot of people, I feel like they don't really think about it as much. So for example, here in, Canada, when it's winter and I take a little bit of a spill, or if my, the ice caught me off guard, and many times over, I've just thought to myself, man, I'm so happy. Like, my hips are strong, everything's just like, I'm in a good position, right? And that's where I think so many people, once again, don't think about how the gym can translate over to life. And obviously there are potential risks in the gym. But once again, like, when you just have a strong, fit body, like, you will be unstoppable in every single area. We actually recently made the video, even just for Josh, of basically him, carrying his little guy around, and just like pretty much the caption was talking about all the different benefits of strength training and just being fit and healthy. And I think it is overlooked. Like, I think people look at it from a lens of like, I'm strength training just to like look good, but not really thinking of how many benefits there are to life, which is, often, once again, not thought about. But I think one of my biggest tips here is just like really not allowing yourself to become complacent in the gym. And what I mean by that is not, in one way I would say, hey, don't be afraid to increase the weight. That's like a sense of complacency. But I would say like thinking that you're too good to like have those reminders, to have someone check in on your form, to have some sort of cue take place and whatnot. And I think that is something, once again, that I've been guilty of as well. Like I would just be deadlifting and think like, oh, well, I know how to do it, right? And you just constantly have to remind yourself to, keep everything braced, to keep your core tight, to, get that video film, to just have all these different things. Like I feel like it's very, very overlooked. And especially as you progress and you've been doing it longer, you tend to kind of overlook those basics that you thought about a lot in the very beginning. And even the last thing I'll say is just listen to your body. Like, don't be silly. The one true injury I had was many, many years ago as a young, bro who loved working chest. And I remember it was kind of funny. We were doing a lot of bench press at the time, right? I did a lot of legs still, but definitely more bench press than anything. And on the Saturday, we hit a big chest workout. Sunday, I think we were actually filming something. So like I was putting 225 on the bar and I could only get 2 reps, but it was a grind. And so naturally Monday was chest day and I just still proceeded to do that. So it was basically 3 days in a row, when in reality, if I were to look back and just like tell myself something different, I'd say, hey, switch it up a bit. Like you don't need to stick to this exact thing, especially if you're feeling fatigued in the chest and shoulders. And then essentially with 70-pound dumbbells, my shoulder just kind of gave out and it was like the last rep and it fell and it hit the side of my head. And luckily everything was okay there, but my shoulders just kind of was messed up for a very long time from that. So looking back, like the lesson I want to share was just like, yeah, just like don't be silly. Like you start to notice the different trends, especially as you have been doing it for longer. You notice, oh, like even Josh mentioning that little tweak, like in the past, maybe I would be a little bit silly and be like, oh, I'm good, like got to grind it out. But different trends, to just listen to your body. Your body's the boss. And I think that's super important to remember.
All right, second question, and the big question of the day is, how do I do a reverse diet and how do I know it's worth it for me? What's the difference between this and a bulk anyways? So reverse diet sounds sexy. It is sexy. Truly is an incredible thing because what you're able to do is drive your calories up, lose fat, gain more muscle, and feel just in general better. But as we know, most often there aren't things that are absolutely phenomenal without a catch. So the thing I will say about the reverse diet off the hop is a reverse diet needs to be earned. So when you're cutting, you're in a deep deficit, you're getting after it, your body naturally will want to mitigate you losing weight because it doesn't want you to starve and die. It's just how the body works. You have all these different hormones in your body. Think insulin, think testosterone, think estrogen, and then the 2 unique ones, ghrelin and leptin, are important for how satisfied you feel when you eat, as well as how hungry you feel in general. Now your body's smart. It says, okay, this person's starting to lose weight. They're starving. They're going to die. They don't know that you're just on a deficit trying to look good. For whatever reason, that communication can't be made. So your bodily systems will say, okay, it's time to suppress how satisfied Kyle feels here with how much he eats. And in turn, we're actually going to raise the level of how hungry he is to try and work against this, to try and help him be motivated to find some food, to fight this problem. And that way he won't starve and die. Now, the reality is if you live in a first world country, as many of us are privileged to, and even second world country, food most often isn't a huge concern. You're able to get enough food. And if anything, there is too much food. That is more of the problem. So we have the opposite effect here. So as you diet, these effects do become tougher. They become more vicious. And where people will go wrong is they'll just over diet themselves forever. They'll lose how much muscle they're putting on. They'll put their energy in the trash. And then most often they'll have a huge rebound from this. And this is where having a coach is so important because we're able to utilize high value strategies to help you see better results faster and in a healthy and more sustainable way. Because when you utilize tools, you can take the die out of dieting, I guess is a good way of saying it. So it doesn't feel like you're dying. You can hold more muscle, see more progress, and do it in a more efficient manner. So the reverse diet is phenomenal if you earn it. So the problem is you can't just be someone who's out there living your life and just be like, I'm going to reverse diet. That is a bulk. If you're just adding calories without being in a deficit, without any suppression of this effect, you are effectively just bulking. Bulking is absolutely fantastic for putting on muscle, having more energy, having more fuel in your system. But once again, is a bulk for everyone? Absolutely not. If you have a significant amount of fat to lose, there really isn't any reason you should be bulking. I would highly recommend starting out with a dieting phase, losing some of that unwanted fat, And that doesn't mean you have to starve yourself and eat chicken and broccoli every day. Rather, what it means is you want to work against that fat, be on a strong training regimen to put on more muscle, to change your body composition. And the severity of how hard that cut will be is completely determined by you. But if you are someone with that, I would definitely recommend starting with the dieting phase. If you are someone who has completed a dieting phase and you're kind of in this stuck place where you plateaued out, you're not losing more weight, your calories are low, your energy's low, that is when you are a perfect candidate for this reverse diet. And the effect of it is to add calories to get your body systems back going again. It's like starting a new fire. And when this is done correctly, I've had phenomenal results where I've added 1,000+ calories, lost 5+ more pounds, had more muscle, had more energy, and it is absolutely amazing. On the flip side, even you can win just numerically. If you started your cut at 2,000 calories and you cut down to 1,500 calories, let's use nice clean numbers, and you started at 200 pounds, and I guess that wouldn't be many calories for a 200-pound person, but regardless, stick with me here. So at 200 pounds, you're eating 2,000 calories. You've cut down to 190, but now you are at 1,500 calories. It was successful, but you are down. If we do a reverse diet and you get up to 2,300 calories at 192 pounds, that is a massive win, because to only put on 2 pounds, you're still 8 pounds lighter than when you started. You're eating 300 more calories than you were before, holding more muscle with more opportunities. So there's a lot of different ways you can really take advantage of this, and it's hard to communicate purely over discussion without any visuals, but this is something we specialize in. There are a lot of really high level strategies that will help a lot with dieting, even utilizing things like diet breaks, unload weeks, break, just in general breaks. Like, there's a lot of different tools that can make it easier to sustain to it and do it long term. And like we said, we spent 10+ years building out systems to do this really effectively. And like I said, where people will go wrong is they'll have this nobility around, I need to do it by myself. But if you're not seeing progress doing it by yourself, you gotta ask yourself what's gonna change. And that's where I highly recommend seeing a coach. So you're not stuck in a dieting phase for forever and you just feel like you're dying and it's brutal and it's horrible and it makes you hate fitness. Instead, by doing things the right way, you can really be in the right phasing and plans for you. And that's really what's important. So there's my rambly take on what it is, how it works. And I know Kyle will have a ton of value to add here too.
Yeah, like surrounding the topic of diet breaks, reverse diets. So many fancy things, but so many great things, especially that we once again specialize. Diet breaks, reverse diets, body recomps, all that great stuff. We have done it for years, so you're always in great hands. But I see a lot of common mistakes take place, and one of them is just someone like, I like how Josh mentioned you have to earn it, and I think that's so true, because someone will, let's say diet for a little bit, like on and off kind of thing, and then they'll think like, oh, well, now's my time. It's like you have to really just, if you do a full like 12 to 16 week cut where you're just so consistent, you've lost weight, you get to the end and you're super hungry and your body's just like begging you for more, like that's a good sign that you're ready for one. And I see so many people, they'll see someone post about it, they'll hear us talk about it, maybe a client will share in the Facebook group and they'll be like, well, let's go, like it's time, right? And it really is like hard to say, but like you should definitely push it off until like the time is fully right. And we'll tell you when it's right, especially as a client. And that's another thing, is that so many people think that, okay, if I start at, 15, if I end my diet at 1,500 calories, if I just slowly introduce it by this amount of calories, I'll be good, right? It's like, we have to really see how your body reacts because every single person is different. Like Josh said, some people will start losing weight. Awesome. Let's bump the calories up faster then. Some people will do it a little bit quicker, so we have to scale back a bit. And it really is like a very technical approach where we just have to check in with you every single week. We have to see how your weigh-ins are, see how you're feeling, see how the strength is. And based off of what people say, we might have to increase it faster, slower, keep it where it's at. And that's something we, once again, will take care of you with. But I did want to share that because a lot of times people will say, oh, I heard that there's a certain number that you should increase it by. And that's 100% not the case. And if you do, you'll likely be misguided because your body is so different. And we've seen a million different, not a million, but multiple thousands of different situations and whatnot. But I will say it is absolutely incredible what you can do, especially when you fully commit to the cut and then you're ready for one. Because one of the last common mistakes I see is when someone loses a ton of weight, they have no action plan afterwards and they just instantly gain it back because using the example of what Josh mentioned before, you get down to 1,500 calories, you bump right back up to over 2,000, you're going to gain tons of weight for the most part, for most people. And that's why if we strategically added it back in, you'd be in a much better situation and you'd be set up for life. So we will take care of you. Send us that message.
Yeah, I've really, one of the best things I've improved with is like hiring professionals that can do something way better than I ever could and taking the pain out of it and learning from them. And that is exactly what we offer with this. I know there is a lot of pride around, I want to do it myself, this and that, but if you're not seeing the results you want to see, like, let us help you see them. This is what we love to do, and we want to put a smile on your face and have you be incredibly proud of where you're at, learn advanced strategies and tactics so you can see better results for the rest of your life. And by doing it now, that's just going to snowball and you're going to get better and better and better. Whereas maybe now you're snowballing and you notice you're getting a little bit worse, things aren't connecting, it's getting harder, and we're going to be here to hold you accountable, help you overcome any obstacles that get in your way. So to learn more about this or coaching in general, just go ahead and DM us the keyword reverse diet to us on Instagram at Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT. But for the final and last question, I'm going to hand it off to Coach Kyle. How can I get more protein in my diet?
Just think about getting more protein in and start taking action and you'll do it. But yeah, kind of what I was saying earlier, I think it's easy to, just not be hitting those numbers and be like, I can't do it, and not come up with a game plan. So I really like just surrounding my meals around the protein. I think it's very easy. I mean, carbs and fat are everywhere. Like any grocery store, most things are based off of carbs and fats. Most restaurants, of course, there are protein options, but I just did want to, mention that. But an easy way to think of it is splitting it up. Let's say for simplicity's sake, you have 150 grams of protein. Ask yourself, how can I get it spread out throughout the day? It has been proven to be better, obviously, instead of having 150 grams in once, just to have it split up to be, straight up. It is definitely more ideal. I don't want to get too technical with all that, but let's say 150 grams is the goal. Breakfast, 40 grams, lunch, 40 grams, dinner, 40 grams, afternoon snack, 30 grams. Like nice and simple. You're breaking it up. Easy to follow, pretty simple in terms of like getting the portioning out, like, chicken breast for lunch, some sort of lean meat for dinner, and then let's say protein smoothie for breakfast or Greek yogurt like we always talk about. Like that's a really good way to put it. But yeah, just really thinking about it. I think once again, so many people struggle to hit it, not really pay attention to it as much. And the other thing is, hey, high protein snacks. If you're super busy, if you're on the go, like I was saying before for that, little event that I had the protein snacks available. And especially as I started my shred, I have been enjoying Quest chips in the afternoon. Lunch, I always have chicken. And yeah, just really having those options available, thinking about it, taking action on it, and really knowing the benefits. Because I mean, you've heard us talk about protein, like it is such an important nutrient, especially if you're looking to build muscle, lose fat. We really have to be hitting the right numbers. Usually around 1 gram per pound is what we aim for. Sometimes a little bit lower depending on the situation. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. And hopefully that helps.
Yeah, my biggest tip would just be getting it in early. If you don't have a good lunch, a good breakfast, it's going to be very hard to catch up. And don't try doing it all in one meal. Instead, learn how to eat protein-dense meals. That'll also make you more full. It'll make things a lot easier. And just in general, that effort to say that you will do this, taking it seriously, that is the big difference maker. There are times where perhaps as much as you'd love to just have like ton of potato chips and like really carb fatty options, you do need to lean into getting those healthy sources of protein, make them a priority. Having staple meals that are very dense in protein is absolutely fantastic. I rotate through like 1 of 3 breakfasts. I normally have my Greek yogurt, but I do have the other options available like high protein flapjacks and or I'll do like oatmeal. Past that for lunch, I have a bunch of different options both at home and that I eat out to still hit my numbers. Like Kyle said, the snacks can help fill in the gaps, and then just the same systems with dinner. And it's just something you continually can work on and improve. And this is something we help our clients succeed with one-on-one in your specific situation with what you have available with your time frame in your life, because the custom bespoke approach is the best approach. Because if you're just trying to do it at a generic approach of what works for someone else, it's not going to work for you. You're going to spin your wheels. You're not going to be happy with where you're at. So let us take care of you. We're really excited. We hope you reach out today because you are worth it. You deserve the change. You deserve to invest in yourself, and we want to make it happen. So hit us up on Instagram at Colossusfit, COLOSSUSFIT, keyword reverse diet. We look forward to taking care of you. Thank you for tuning in. Peace out.